Hello and welcome to today's video. This time I've dug out another box of vintage 1960s Penguin books, which we're going to get cleaned up and looking as good as possible. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, so we'll start off with Sammy Going South, W.H. Canaway. And these penguins that we're looking at now, they're sort of early to mid 1960s. So 1963, in fact, this particular one. And that one's all right. Now, when I was pulling these off the shelf, I spotted that there was a few slightly lower grade crime ones, and these are probably ones that I picked up out in the wild without, they didn't come from dealers, because the books that we're looking at are books generally that I have found as a Penguin collector rather than buying off dealers or going to book fairs and things like that. So some of them consequently are a little bit low grade, and you do find that particularly with the crime titles. So I know later on, see, that's okay. It's not perfect by any means, but it's okay. Got a bit of damage on the spine, but it's not the end of the world. I know later on we've got some slightly lower grade Ed McBain 87 Precincts, which are the ones I first ever read in actual fact when I was reading Ed McBain. So I'd like to get better copies of those, but I could never remember which ones I needed to upgrade. So I am looking forward to getting those sorted today. And number-wise, I see, look, 1909, we're actually coming up to the end of the second 1,000 in Penguins, which leaves just over 1,000 to go, because my numbering on these goes up to just over 3,000. So the end is definitely coming up, at least of the initial cleaning. The Fig Tree, Aubrey Menon. Oh, that one's got a 150 to scrape out. My trusty rubber here. So I haven't really concentrated on trying to fill in the gaps in the second and third 1,000. Now that I'm just down to the one of the first 1,000, I've got a list of about 30, maybe, yeah, I reckon about 30 of the first 1,000 that I would like to upgrade. So I think my target should be to have a little stab at getting a few of those upgraded, and then try and fill in some gaps on the second 1,000 then. But I'm a little bit reluctant, because where I keep my penguins in sort of my book collection, it's pretty much chock-a-block at the moment. However, because the very earliest ones have now been cleaned and bagged, they can actually go into long-term storage for when I'm hoping to move house, theoretically, which would create some more bookshelf space. So the time has sort of come that some of those series which are really just sort of waiting there, they've been fully cleaned and that, I don't really need access to them sort of every day. I'm going to just need to, now the final position is they're all cleaned, filmed, bagged up. The next step is literally just to box them up ready for my overall library, which could be a year or two away yet. This is nice. T.H. White, The Goshawk. Nice early Penguin modern classic. Yeah, that's a nice one. The Boy in the Bush. Oh, look at that. Look. Stacy, why did you have to do it? D.H. Lawrence, and he is a little bit on the worn side at the bottom of the spine. A couple of quite bad creases there, so it's a filler really. So I think I'm going to pop this one on the wants list. I really don't like books which have got writing on the front. It's one of my sort of real pet hates. You can see bottom of the spine there. It's not looking great. I mean, it's D.H. Lawrence, so I can't imagine this is too difficult to find, although it's not one that, it's one of the later ones that they published. In fact, it may have been finished off by M.L. Skinner. I don't really know. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to put this one, 1935, D.H. Lawrence, Boy in the Bush, as an upgrade, I think, because it's not quite living up to expectations. This one's nice. So this one came about when Penguin were republishing a lot of Hemingway, and it's only basically a novella. I think it was like almost an expanded essay on Hemingway. They used that image on quite a bit of their publicity at the time. And that's quite a nice one. I remember having a little bit of trouble tracking that one down when I was trying to get all the Hemingways. Faulkner, As I Lay Dying. Lots of great authors still. This one's a little bit mucky, but he'll pass. It's not the end of the world. Remember this being a very common one. Paul Gallico, Genie. Seems to turn up back in the day, in every charity shop going. I used to come across copies of this. And that was actually not too bad condition, so I probably upgraded it at some point already. Another one here, Paul Gallico, Love of Seven Dolls. Don't recognise that one so much. Never read him, but I heard he was really good. Is it The Snow Goose? I think that's his most famous one. Now let's see, that's a really nice crime one. It's got a nice solid spine. It's obviously, not new, but it's, if only they were all like that, I'd be really, really pleased. Nice designed cover on that one. I wonder if it says who the designer was. Ursula Norbel. Not heard of that, but I see it's got a little £2.50 inside. That's possibly what I paid for this one because it's in nice shape. So £2.50 probably wouldn't have appeared too expensive, Death Under the Sail. I'm guessing a yachting crime story. Sard Harker, John Mansfield. Now these will all, because of the period when they were made, will be okay to give these a bit of a polish. Just a light polish, nothing too serious. There might be a couple which have got a few little marks on, which might need a little bit more attention. This looks like a movie tie-in. Yeah, Ian Hendry, June Ritchie, and Liz Fraser. Yeah, not too bad. Hammersmith Maggot, another lovely crime one. Yeah, that cover design was Romick Marber. Great designer, did quite a bit for Penguin in actual fact. Now I'm going to slide that pile just over there, so we've got a bit more room. A Use of Ritchie's, J.M. Stewart. It's funny, I don't think I've read anything in Penguin for a little while actually. I'm sort of overdue a vintage Penguin read. The Grey Flannel Shroud. Because just the experience of reading a Penguin, particularly from the 50s or 60s, like a good crime one, is really great. I absolutely love it. It's a good feeling. Watcher in the Shadows, Geoffrey Household. He also did crime, actually, but this one is in the fiction, so I'm guessing it's more in that vein. And I've got two copies of this one, more science fiction. Now, with the science fiction ones, I tend to have extras because I enjoy reading them, and Penguin did 3 of these in actual fact. So I'm hoping at least one of them is a first, and one of them might be a reprint, or they might both be firsts. I don't know. So this is actually a reprint from 1964, so that one's the reprint. But by the look of it, an identical cover. And that's the first print. So I got the first and second. But as I said, one of them will be to read, and one of them will be for the first edition collection. Neither of them are actually tip-top shape, so but they're very easy to find. I think the 3 volumes, because there's Penguin Science Fiction, more Penguin Science Fiction, and yet more Penguin Science Fiction. Okay, Afternoon Men. Now this one I am going to put on my upgrade list. So it's 1964, Afternoon Men by Anthony Poole. It's not one of his Dance to the Music of Time books. It's one of his earlier ones. An author I really like, although that's one I haven't actually read. I've read all the Music of Time, of course. Right, Colin Watson, Bump in the Night. That one's all right. And now here's a little run of Ed McBain. Now, if I pull them, we've got 5 here, and none of them are that great in actual fact. But these are the copies I first ever read. So if I think they're in need of an upgrade, I can see that one definitely is. I'm going to say so, but we'll clean them as we go. So Cop Hater, which is the very first one in the 87th Precinct series, and is an absolute classic. This is just a riveting read. I really recommend it. That copy, not perfect, but I'm going to let it go. That one is all right. The Mugger is the next one actually in the sequence. Now this one has got some spine creases, and I do collect Ed McBain in his own right, and my American ones are beautiful. So I'm thinking I am going to put that on the upgrade list to try and find a better one. So 1969, The Mugger. 1970, The Pusher. Absolutely, definitely, I want a better copy of this one. Now in America, this one has an absolutely incredible painted cover, which shows a woman injecting herself. This one does have the syringe cover, which was, because it's heroin, it's very much controversial, but you can imagine this in the mid 1950s in America. Boy, oh boy, that cover really hit home. But this is one I'd love to get the better copy of it. They're using the 87th Precinct little banner down there. So in 1970, definitely want a better one of that. As I do 1971, The Con Man. That's also really, really poor grade. But as I said, these are my reading copies as well. But I'd like to get better, some more collectible condition copies for my main collection. Then this last one here, 1972, it's borderline, but I'm going to let it go. This one's not too bad. So I'm glad we've done a little audit of the Ed McBains, because they definitely needed it. Okay, The Bachelors, Henry de Monterland. That was absolutely fine. On the Loose, John Stroud. Not great, but not the end of the world condition-wise. My Friend Judas, Andrew Sinclair. A little bit of writing there, but on the whole, not too bad. I think we'll let that one go. Daughters of Mulberry, Roger Longridge. What signature is that there on the front? Milton Glasser. I don't recognise that, but it's a nice one. Looks like it's a racing story. Beautiful condition. I'd say that was virtually unread. Lovely white pages. Look at that, 1960, is that 65? 63 still. These have all been 63. Look at that, really nice and bright. Beautiful copy of that one. This one I upgraded literally about 2 weeks ago from when I filmed this. A recent visit to All You Need Is Books. So that was one I had in a bit of a mottled old state, that Hemingway, and I recently got that nice copy of it. Ballad of Love, another one which is in nice shape. Yeah, he's all right. I always liked that cover. But who did it? Who did it? Usually they put the designer in the front page, if I can actually get to it, because it's playing hard to get. Here we are. Pushpin Studios, yeah. So the thing about Pushpin Studios is they use a lot of these fine lines like this. So one of their favorites that they did is 2020, which we may actually see today, which is the gold rimmed spectacles, so as in 2020 vision, which I believe is also one of theirs. So we'll have a look at that. Now here's another favorite of mine. This is, I think, probably my second favorite John Wyndham after Dare the Triffids, The Trouble with Lycum. I really, really like that. I remember reading it as a boy and just loving it. Really, really loving it. It's a great one if you've never read that. Gulk, Richard Stern. Might be a scarf or yeah, Ralph Steadman. That was the chap. Yeah, you can see his style. A Ralph Steadman cover. Wow. They were using quite a lot of good designers, weren't they, back then? The Light of Common Day, Diana Cooper. A little bit of markings on the back, which should come off with a bit of polish and a bit of luck. Eric and Jane's got a book playing Eric and Jane Whitehead. Then up there, Margaret Whitehead. So it's gone through the generations by the look of it. Wonder who she was. Who was Margaret Whitehead? Settled out of court. Henry Cecil. Daughters-in-law. A little bit of marking on the spine, but these are really, to me, quite unimportant books, these law ones. So as long as they're half reasonable, I don't mind letting these go. I'm not looking for perfection, because these books I'm never going to read. But the crime ones and that, definitely would like better copies, like those McBains. Thor Hardhouse, this is the Penguin First of Kon-Tiki expedition. I much prefer Aku Aku, but this is the next best one. I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as Aku Aku. There he is, the great explorer. Yeah, and great writer as well, of course. The Limits of Love, Frederick Raphael. Most of these are pretty nice condition, I got to say. My standards are a little bit stricter for books from this period because I don't really have the space for lower grade ones. Okay. Another bit of science fiction here. Sirius, Olaf Stapledon. Lovely. And then Penguin number 2000, which they published as the New English Bible, the New Testament. This one's quite difficult to find, believe it or not. And that all black cover makes really nice copies. I would think probably quite scarce. Yeah, I mean, he's all right, but, you know, it is what it is. The Man with the Cane, Gene Potts. This one's got some sticker removal mark there. This is not perfect, but we'll see how it's looking when I've given it a clean. It's typical crime, isn't it? Again, that's the thing. It's typical. Yeah, it's very borderline. So we'll have a look at that. But that's, I think, I'm going to put 2002, The Man with the Cane. I am going to put that on the upgrade list because that's a little bit too low grade compared to the other books around it. Okay, a bit more science fiction. Three to Conquer. Eric Frank Russell. Right, a bit more science fiction. Three to Conquer. Eric Frank Russell. Nice copy of that. I have seen, because I've been, looking through a lot of science fiction, I've come across quite a bit of nice condition Penguin science fiction, and I've been picking it up when I come across it. This one is once again a little bit borderline. It's a crime one. I'm going to let it go for now. But potentially I might revisit that. A Season in Love. It's got a bit of a faded spine here. See, this to me is more of a defect than that Penguin we just looked at. So 2010, A Season in Love. Peter Draper. That needs to be upgraded. Family Favourites. a Roman scandal. And in fact, I am going to put 2008 on there as well. Godfrey Smith, The Floor and the Crystal. Just looking at it, it's just not quite up to standard. I'd just rather they weren't in the collection when they're low grade nowadays. My standards have risen as time's gone on, really. This one's got a little 40p in, or 40 something. Thanks, wedge over. The Shocking History of Advertising. But that's quite a good read. A little bit of damage at the bottom of the spine, but generally I'm going to let that go. Just needs to be re-glued there, look at that. So I do have some of this glue I've been using. It's a bookbinder's glue. I've had some great success with it lately, more so than Pritt Stick. So you've got the spout there, which gives you some level of accuracy. So I'm just going to go in there like that, give it a little squirt, rub it around a bit. I think that should be enough. And if you do have any excess, it will just spill out onto your hands like that, and it just sort of dries like a bit of rubber, really, you know. So just rub it in my hands and it's gone. There we are. So yeah, this is called Pin Flare Glue It bookbinding glue, and I bought that pot off Amazon, and that pot there, that size, was £8, but I imagine that's going to last an awful long time. So in actual fact, better value for money than a Pritt Stick, and it is specifically designed for books. Okay, Claudine at School by Colette. This is quite a collectible series. The Claudine series. There's a few of these. That's that one there. Here's another one, Claudine and Annie. This one's actually it's been what's the word? Covered in plastic. But it's okay. I don't mind that too much because it's kept the book mint. I prefer it not in plastic, but you know, it is what it is. Inspector Queen's Own Case. Ellery Queen, of course. It's all right. Oh, another Ed McBain, but this one looks okay. Lady Killer. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it's perfect. It's good enough to keep by the look of it. So I said these are all the ones I've read. You can see how quick they are reads, what quick reads they are. Ed McBain himself was very prolific. Published an awful lot. You know, sometimes 3 or more books a year, plus short stories and all sorts. And here's the other one. It's the gold-rimmed spectacles. So this is Penguin 2020, as in 2020 vision, and it's all about the famous gold-rimmed spectacles. They're at Pushpin Studios, so they did a few for Penguin. It's a nice copy of that one, and a beautiful, very 60s jacket. It's one I particularly like that, and a bit of fun with the number as well, which Penguin would sometimes do. Maigret and the 100 gibbets. It's a Simon. That's fine. Another wedge over here. Another Maigret. Maigret at the Crossroads. It looks like P.D. James, doesn't it? I wonder if it was. But it's in pen, so it's staying there anyway. A modern classic now, Hadrian VII. I've had a couple of copies of this. It's quite a nice condition one. It's not a book I'm ever going to read. It's a nice modern classic, which I do absolutely love those. Scenes from Married Life, William Cooper. That's okay. Dignity and Purity, Ian Jeffreys. I don't remember this one actually. Cover photo of Dennis Jackson. This is from a later period, 1966. This is correct numerically, but looks like they've gone back and filled the number, and they didn't get it published until a lot later. It's not perfect, but it's not bad considering all that black on the front. It makes the books harder to keep nice condition. Joyce Carey, The Captive and the Free. Stop at Nothing, John Malcolm. Another cover on the back there by Romick Marber. A great designer. The Man Who Won the Pools. Nice white pages on that one. Now this one's a little bit low grade, 2044. You can see it's like stained somehow. Really dry title. The Penguin Science Survey, B, 1964. So one for the completists only, and not in the greatest of shape. So I will put that on the old upgrade list. And a few PG Woodhouses to round out. Indiscretions of Archie. And these can often turn up in quite low grade. So these I'm also paying particular attention to. So it's got some pen on the inside cover, which is a little bit harder to get out. Yeah, they just tend to be more well read, the Woodhouses. So consequently, they don't always turn up in great shape. So that one is pretty ropey, and I like my Woodhouses to be nice. So because of the ding at the bottom, I'm going to put that on the upgrade list as well, 2046. I'm being quite strict with these. That one, not too bad. It's fairly square. 2047. Once again on the inside cover. I wonder if it was the same owner. But this one is a bit better condition. So we'll let it lie and stay in the collection for now. Oh, and on that side as well. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Heart of the Goof. It's one of his golfing ones. Look at that. God, that's no good, is it? It's no good. I'm not having books like that. So this is on the upgrade list as well. Heart of the Goof, 2048. Wodehouse. Thankfully, they're not going to be too expensive if I come across them. And then Hot Water, which is much better by the look of it. So that's absolutely fine. You know, I would really like a signed PG Wodehouse. I haven't got anything signed by him. He's probably quite expensive to find. But I'd like a signed Penguin. They must exist, I would think. There we are. Right. So that's all the books that we're looking at today. So the next step of the old process is to give everything a brush. Okay then, so we're going to give these a bit of a brush. And I don't think they're too bad, but obviously they've never ever been done. So I don't know quite how bad they're going to be. But yeah, there was miles more that needed upgraded than I was expecting in this lot, but it's okay because it's not like I'm upgrading loads of rare wartime editions or anything, you know. As long as I know which ones need upgrading, if I come across them cheap, which I sometimes do because I look, always looking for penguins, at least I'll have access to the numbering. Like I knew I needed to upgrade some of those McBains. I had no idea which ones it was from memory. So the fact that I've now got that on paper is going to be really useful, and it won't take me long to swap those out, I don't think, because they turn up all the time. They have big runs, the McBains, and Penguin I think did a good job with him, but they only had him for about 5 years. Then he moved over to Pan, and Pan started releasing them with photo covers, which have got their own appeal, but they're not my favourites, you know. It's a mucky old part of the process, this, but an essential part. There we are. 2.5 more stacks to go. few. Lovely. Right. Last stage then. Let's give them a polish. Okay then, so we're going to give these a bit of a polish. I've not got a lot of polish left, but I've got enough to do these because they're not going to need a massive amount. So I'm just going to give them the casual once over, and there's just a couple which have got a couple of odd stains that we're going to tackle to the best that we can, as best we can, I should say. But yeah, some will be worse than others. So things have been moving along, and I've been doing quite a bit of sorting out. And as I said, I'm going to need to, because for space reasons really, because I've been getting some good stuff come my way, but there's also stuff that I want to sort of keep back now until like the final library comes my way. Just going to re-glue that while we're here. So I said the books that I've now, you've probably seen, I've now finished up bagging up my Albatross books. I've done my Collins Crime Club and things like that. Once those series have been done, theoretically, they can now be boxed up, free up some actual shelf space for stuff that's still being processed or I'm still actively collecting, and they can pretty much be like long-term archive now, in the knowledge that the books are being protected. As I said, they'll be boxed up, they'll be kept in a nice environment, and they'll be put into brand new comic boxes, which are dirt cheap in actual fact, and they can just stay there until the library gets built. And I said that may be a year or two away yet. We're going to sell this house and find somewhere else to do it, and then it needs to be built. So it's going to be a long old process, but as long as I've got the stuff clearly marked so I can get my hands on it, like Penguin Box 1, 2, 3. Same with the early pans once they've been bagged up, which I'm thinking of doing quite soon. In fact, the numbered only pan series, because I have got that complete. That'd be quite a good candidate to get bagged up quite soon. As long as it's all carefully catalogued and I know which ones I'm looking to upgrade and things like that, there's absolutely nothing stopping me doing that, and that will really create quite a bit of room. The problem is where to keep the stacks of the books. So the books will be in boxes, and a lot of my collection is just in my loft, which is great, but it's not good to be going up and down the steps with quite heavy boxes sometimes. And I'm not getting any younger, and I am in worry a little bit about potentially doing myself an injury going up and down with boxes. And not just that, it's all the weight in the loft as well. It's not all up there, but there's a lot of it up there. And it's very well spread out. And I have, of course, made quite a bit of room by getting rid of my Star Wars stuff last year, or at least a lot of the big bulky toys and stuff. So that has made some good space. So I'm not desperate by any means. It's just I don't think quite so much needs to be up there. And I can use the room to sort of spread out the series that I'm sort of more collecting recently. So like the first 1,000 penguins, they take up an awful lot of space. and I only need the one, and it's not like I'm going back to them all the time, comparing copies. If I ever got a big collection come my way, which sometimes happens, I can, as long as I know where they are, I can pull my existing Penguin books out and do the comparison then. So they don't really need to be on display because they're not going to be used for any videos coming up. Once we've got through to clean them. So theoretically, I could do that with these, with the second 1,000 penguins now. Once these have all been bagged up, but I've got some other stuff I want to bag first. And that said, I think the older books, the ones that are more fragile and probably need the protection, I think I should concentrate still on those as much as possible rather than more recent books, because they're the ones that are most going to be at risk. And certainly some of my wartime penguins, which are fragile, I've got copies that are hanging by a thread in some cases. They're probably the best candidate to be bagging up. So I think I bagged up the first 100 penguins, and I think I'm going to concentrate on the next 100 quite soon, because they need it. I want to get the first 500 really bagged up, in the next few months, I think, because they are quite delicate and would benefit from the extra level of protection. I know some people who watch the channel have definitely decided to bag their books up on the back of watching me do mine, and they do look really good. And I have been against it for quite some time because I knew the book still had to be, like, in a way, processed through this system that we're doing here, where we've been through every book that we've done here today. We've looked inside every book that we've had and taken out any marks and stuff that we've spotted at least, and I've cleaned off any, we've brushed the edges and I've cleaned off any other markings that I can get. So they're as good as I can possibly get before they get bagged up. So my boy's about to go off to university in a few months, and there's a little spot in his room where I'm going to start piling up some boxes of books. Not on display, just literally as a place to store them. So it frees up more room for me, so I can do some more stuff in the loft and get rid of some more Star Wars stuff, because it takes a bit of space to get it all out, to process it, if that makes sense. And I've got an awful lot of old Simpsons toys and things like that. All of it needs to be sold, and it takes up a lot of room, and I don't really want to be moving house with all that baggage, as it were. And books are very easy to move, particularly when they're boxed up. They're not a hindrance at all. So that's a bit of a plan that I've got going on. And although, it would be lovely to get all the stuff out, it's just not practical at the moment. And that's the whole point of striving to get myself a decent library, because I think when it's done, it's just going to look absolutely magic, and I'll be able to get everything out and it will just look the business. So that's sort of a dream, really, and worth having that dream, because it will happen, definitely. And I've got plenty of other content I can be coming out with, video wise, and eventually, of course, all books will be cleaned and it will just be a case of bagging them. So I suppose in the end it's just going to be bagging books, but the actual process and that of archiving the collections, I will try and film that. I think you might find it interesting, and I'll put those videos out on this channel, because I think people will find the whole process from start to finish quite an interesting thing to have a look at. But all the books we've seen today comfortably fitted into one comic box, and that's what I'll be using because they fit spine on. You can get B format books in as well as A format, so they're perfect for keeping the books in order. And I think it's just a great way of storing them. And if they're bagged up, I was thinking potentially as well of actually lining the comic boxes with like another layer of like paper protection of some sort, because they're not going to be in there forever. They're not going to be in there for 10 years or something. It's only, we're talking perhaps a couple of years. But I was thinking of maybe putting, like when you get a delivery from Amazon, sometimes they've got like the thick brown paper that's used to like pad parcels out. I was thinking of unrolling that because it's quite thick and lining each box with that before I put the books in as well. So they'll be in a comic box, they'll be then lined with that brown paper, and all the books themselves will be bagged. So I don't think I can get any better protection than that. And they're not going to be kept in a cold or damp environment. It's going to be inside, just in a fairly cool room which no one's living in. So I think we should be fine. And I'm not going to have them resting against an outside wall, for example. They'll be against an internal wall. So there's no risk of any sort of damp or mold or anything like that coming through the walls. So I think that's probably the best long-term plan, to take some books away and put them into storage, and my own personal storage, and know exactly where they are so I can access them if I should need them. So that's the plan anyway. I really couldn't estimate how many books we've still got to clean up. Certainly on the pan front, the end is in sight. I reckon we've maybe only got 2 or 3 more pan videos, and the entire collection has been cleaned. Penguin wise, well, we're up to 2,000 and we've got another 1,000 to go, but there are other minor series, so we're still working our way through the Pelicans. I think we might be halfway through the Pelicans, so we got perhaps another 6 or 7 Pelican videos. I think Penguin wise we've got at least another 10. There's 16 videos there. And then there's minor Penguin series like Penguin Science News and Biology News. I think we have done all the specials now, but there's lots of minor series, the Buildings of England, Penguin Classics. Have we done all the Puffins? I can't remember. I'd have to check back. I think we have, haven't we? There's other like miscellaneous series as well that probably could use a bit of a clean. We've done a lot, but I think there's still, even before we entertain bagging videos, to get it all bagged up, I still think there's another year's worth of content for this channel. Just roughly thinking about it, just doing one video a week. And next week's video will actually be my pickups for April. It's just going to be another long one. It's going to be about 2.25 hours. But it'll be my April pickups without any of the new books and stuff included. So it will just be the process and the cleaning part. So that will be next week's video. It's a nice long one for you to get your teeth stuck into. It is just basically a shortened and edited version of the one that I put on my main channel. But on the main channel, I include all the books that I get sent for free and things like that. So, for review and what have you, or stuff that's given to me, or stuff I've just picked up. So there's quite a bit in that one to go through. But I'm sure you won't mind. But I know there are some people who just like the cleaning stuff. They don't like any of the rest of it. Certainly some of these are coming up really nicely now that they've had the treatment. The process, as I call it. But it is funny how our standards change as time goes on, And My standards have absolutely skyrocketed lately, just with the sort of quality of stuff that I've been seeing with other dealers. And I think, collectible hardback books are always going to be expensive and collectible for a very good reason. But those sort of traditional dealers are selling collectible paperbacks, but the paperbacks themselves have to be in tip-top shape for them to warrant stocking them. And the sort of stuff that I'm trying to collect, like stuff like this is what I would call, near fine for a vintage paperback. And evidently, these are very, very scarce. They just don't turn up in this condition very often. And even this has got a few imperfections, but it's still so much better than a regular book. But someone like Dorset Bob, who also struggled for space, even a book as beautiful as that, he would turn it down because there's like a little mark there and there's a little like crease there. That would be enough. He would actually turn that book down and it wouldn't be part of his own collection. His standards are that high. So that's just what he's like. Certainly with paperbacks anyway. This one was literally only done a day or two ago, so just give it the cursory once over again. Interesting that this one actually had much whiter paper. Look at the papers. It's much whiter than a regular Penguin, which is unusual. So a few little marks for sure, so good to get that one cleaned up. Yeah, I thought I actually, most of my John Wyndhams I've got doubles of. Same with like George Orwell, because I like him so much as an author, but it's interesting that this one I didn't have. Just had the one copy of what is, as I said, one of my all-time favourites. I've got the American edition of it, but I thought I did have more than one British edition. And that's not me being greedy, it's just because my favourite books I like to have at least two of. Like a reader and a collectible edition. A little stain in the top there. And on the back, I don't know what it is. It may or may not come off. Sometimes you get them with the polish and the actual stain comes back because it's like white spirit or it's paint sometimes. Whatever that was, it does seem to have come off, which is good news. These are those law books, which I'm not a massive fan of, these particular ones. The only Henry Cecil I actually knew was the famous horse trainer, who I think he's dead now, but he was very famous in the world of horses. But quite a nice box set of Thor Hardal. It was a 70s one. The only problem with it, it's got the most awful covers on the books, but the books themselves are brilliant, and they're actually the editions that I read now. The first time I read Aku Aku was in the original Penguin edition, and I couldn't put it down. It is so good. I don't think they ever did any sort of TV show of it or anything, like a documentary or anything, but I very much would be curious to know if there was any footage from it. I've just seen on the back, top corner there appears to be a date or something put on there, so I'm just going to see if that. Yeah, it's coming off now. I didn't even notice it first time round. It looked like it said 863, so that's probably when the bookshop first received it, maybe. But it's come off quite nicely, which is good news. We're well over half. We only got about 20 or so to clean now, and then we shall be done. It's a nice bit of science fiction. This was that copy of Penguin 2000, which is the Bible. As far as I know, it's the only Bible I've got in the house. With that black cover, it does show up any little marks. But I don't think I've ever seen a better one. I have come across it at least once or twice before, and I thought, well, my one's, as good as that or better. So it's not one that I particularly am striving to upgrade, but it's an anniversary, and the anniversary ones, Penguin always did something quite special. Number 3000, for example, is Ulysses, and number 1000 is one of our submarines. Right, almost onto the last pile. A bit of a grubby crime title, this, but I'm confident we've got the right ones on the upgrade list this time round. Yeah, it looks like we got right to the very end of the can of Mr. Sheen. So do leave a comment down below. I know some of you pretty much comment on every video I do, and I really appreciate the comments. And it's almost always positive, and people really like it, so thank you for that. But if there's anything in particular you'd like to see me tackle, do let me know. There was a quite a comprehensive book repair video on my other channel, which you might have missed, and I'll try and link to it at the end of this one when I edit it. And that's where I repaired a vintage copy of I, Robot by Isaac Asimov from the 1950s. It's quite a rarity. They spelt his name wrong, so I only ever had the one print, if you can believe it. And it took me about a year to find one. It really did, through all the normal secondhand channels. I found it was the second one I came across, and even this was literally falling to bits. But I took a punt, and I've got it back to fairly reasonable shape. I mean, you could actually read it, but at the time the pages were detached and they'd been glued in. The cover was hanging off as well. It wasn't my most extensive restoration, but it was a pretty decent one, and I'm pleased with how it's come out actually. So do have a little check of that, because I think you'll quite like it. So that's on the other channel, and as I said, I'll try and remember to link to that one at the end of this video, so you can actually see that one in particular, because you may well have missed it. Almost there. So yeah, is there anything that you would like to see me talk about, or maybe see from my collection, possibly, that you'd like a closer look at? Just let me know, and I'll do my best to accommodate things as we, as I said, just even by a rough calculation, I think I've got another year's worth of videos just to finish cleaning off the book collection. And as I said, we may well have to do the odd video where I clean off some of the toys before I sell them. And I'd rather it stick to just purely book and paper related stuff on this channel. But if there's enough interest, if you'd like to see me clean up some action figures and stuff, similar sort of process really. At least they all need polishing. That would be the sort of thing, because they're very dusty in some cases. That's certainly something that we could do. But as I said, we've still got probably a year of book related content, so we're not running out of anything quite soon. Yeah. Anyway, if you have enjoyed today's video, do please give it the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. It helps YouTube know that you've liked this video. Please, if you've not already, hit the subscribe button. We're actually almost at 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely fantastic. It's really good. I don't do this for any sort of real monetary gain at all. It's peanuts really what I get from YouTube, but it is something that is something that I would be doing anyway, and I'm absolutely happy to share it. Even if it is just one video a week, it doesn't matter, does it? And it's quite good systematically going back over these, because I can always check my collection at that snapshot time when I actually recorded the video. So from that point of view, definitely a good thing. If you really like the videos, you can always join my Patreon. So it's just at patreon.com Jules Burt. From as little as £1 or $1, you can generally get my key videos early. So I try and do 1 or 2 early videos per week if I can. And all the main ones, the most important ones, I always offer to my Patreon and channel members early. Simple as that. So if you can afford £1 or so to support my efforts, It is much appreciated. There's obviously different tiers as well if you'd like to, but a little bit each month like that really does go a long way to helping the channel out. And you can do patreon.com, Jules Barrett, or over on my main channel. You can join the channel there through YouTube and get the perks through that. Anyway, last one for today, so thanks very much for that. As I said, next week we're going to get an edited version of my April pickups, which will be a nicer 2-hour one. In fact, this one's going to end up best part of an hour, so not done too badly, have we? Thanks very much for watching today, and I shall look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.